singing and the dancers really admire them. Smallness is still on their mind. Smallness is a good time. My neighbor and some little children. And when they're singing and the dancers really admire them. Yes, they're singing. Ring, ching, ching, ching. Poverty. I'm in a bar. Poverty. I see for mama. Poverty. With 10 fat chickens. Poverty. I ask you for one. Poverty. And she won't give me one. Poverty. You see that garden? Poverty. Named Dorothy. Poverty. She fat like a butter. Poverty. And she maggle like a chow. Poverty. Oh, smallness is still on my mind. Smallness is a good time. Never had some little children. I'm gonna sing it and the dancers really admire them. What they're singing? On your carpet, you must be like the roses. All you need, bright and shining. You must be, and show me the one. Love the best. When I marry, I give you the ring. First the girl, second the boys. Sunday, Monday, afternoon. We will spend our honeymoon. Oh, smallness is still on my mind. Smallness is a good time. Never some little children. I'm gonna sing it and the dancers really admire them. Join the singing. Old man house on fire. The old man ran away. He ran for the police to get the water. The only fire down there. Escalated, shoot, shoot, shoot. Escalated, shoot, shoot, shoot. And now wipes the lady face. The lady wipes the lady face. And she fell down, and she fell down, and she fell in the ocean too. Oh, smallness is still on my mind. Smallness is a good time. Neighbor, some little children. I'm really singing and the dancers really admire them. Hear them singing? Children, children. Yes, mama. Where you been? Grandmama. What she give you? Bread and cheese. Where is mine? On the shelf. How me go get up? Climb on the chair. So what's it called? Peanut cake. Bad picnic. Peanut cake. Wicked picnic. Peanut cake. Oh, smallness is still on the mind. Smallness is a good time. Neighbor, some little children. I'm gonna sing it and the dancers really admire them. I'm gonna sing it and the dancers really admire them. I'm gonna sing it and the dancers really admire them.
This is Attorney Shellen Washington, owner and founder of the Washington Law Firm, located at 455 Utica Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. We're specialized in medical malpractice, personal injuries, matrimonial law, and landlord and tenant. If you're in need of legal representation, please give us a call today. The number to call is 718-877-3100. Consultation is free at no cost to you. So call us today to see if we can be of any assistance to your legal needs. Again, the phone number to call us is 718-877-3100.
If you are looking to have your statutory declaration, affidavit of income, identity, damage or lost passport, lost license, tenancy agreement, agreement of settlement, power of attorney, last will and testament, and certification of documents, then you need to visit the Alistair Collins firm, located at the Kellyan Mall, 162 Lamaha Street in Georgetown, between Camp and Waterloo Street. Alistair Collins is a commissioner of oaths and a justice of the peace. Make certain you visit him or call for more information at 649-6410 or 685-6448 or 503-1451. And there's adequate parking available. Go down to the Alistair Collins firm and have all of your legal issues settled and brought to the fore. Alistair Collins firm. Contact them at Alistair Collins firm,
This is a good time. Neighbor and some little children. I'm ready singing and the dancers really admire them. Smallness is still on their mind. Smallness is a good time. Neighbor and some little children. I'm ready singing and the dancers really admire them. Yes, they're singing. Ring, ching, ching, ching. In a bar. A seafood mama. With 10 fat chickens. And I ask you for one. And she won't give me one. You see that girl named Dorothy. She fat like a butter. And she muggle like a chow. Oh, smallness is still on my mind. Smallness is a good time. Never had some little children. I'm gonna sing it and that's really admire them. What they're singing? On your carpet, you must be like the roses. All you need. Bright and shining, you must be. And show me the one. Love the best. When I marry, I give you the ring. First the girl, second the boy. Sunday, Monday, afternoon. We will spend our honeymoon. Oh, smallness is still on my mind. Smallness is a good time. Neighbor, some little children. I'm ready singing and the dancers really admire them. Join the singing. Old man house on fire. The old man ran away. He ran for the police to get the water. The only fire down there. Escalated, shoo, shoo, shoo. Escalated, shoo, shoo, shoo. And I wipes the lady face. The lady wipes the lady face. And she fell down. And she fell down. And she fell in the ocean too. Oh, smallness is still on my mind. Smallness is a good time. Neighbor, some little children. I'm really singing and the dancers really admire them. Hear them singing? Children. Yes, Mama. Where you been? Grandmama. What she give you? Bread and cheese. Where is mine? On the shelf. How me go get up? I'm on the chair. So what's it called? P.A.K. Bad nickname. P.A.K.
Hey, guess what? Good evening. It's 8 minutes after 9 o'clock in beautiful Guyana. And let's start off with this here. Good evening to all of you. Uh, Whether you're in Guyana, Alnis Village, whether you're at Philippi, you're at Evesham. Hey, good evening to the folks out in Evesham. I know they were flooded over the weekend. The people at Evesham, Brighton, Epsom, I don't know, Bengal. What's happening there? The minister of agriculture obviously doesn't give a damn. I mean, I heard the people out there in the area, and they are of the view, and rightly so, that the minister of agriculture doesn't give a damn. Just like his government, they don't care about the people. They don't care about the people in Evesham. They don't care about the people in Epsom, at Alnis, at Philippi, at Wim, at Letterkenny, even all the way in Georgetown or other parts of Guyana. They just don't give a damn. Forget about them and this one Guyana crap, one Guyana. It boils me up inside when I hear this crap about one Guyana. Anyways, we'll talk a little more about that shortly. But here is the boxing champion, Elton Darry. Elton Darry did a splendid job against that Panamanian. The Panamanian, put him on the floor about, about three times. Three times Elton got knocked down. I think the third or so it was a bit questionable. They thought it was a push down, right? But it was some kind of fight. And there's a reason why. Congratulations to Elton. I personally extended, congrats to the champ, uh, Elton, sorry. I reached out to him and he responded, as always. I've been in touch with him for a few years now. And here's what happened. This fight, and let me thank you guys in advance for sharing the link, those who have shared it and those who intend on sharing it but forgot after the show started. So thank you so much for sharing it. Now, look at what I'm trying to say to you about this so-called one Guyana and Irfan Ali and his crap. By the way, today happens to be his birth anniversary, right? Okay. Everybody is celebrating their birthday at some point in time. But this is a guy, Irfan Ali. He's not in the photo here. He is talking about one Guyana, right? One Guyana. And this has nothing to do with Elton Dari, our boxing champ. Absolutely nothing. And I really hate to make it appear as though this has something to do with him or to drag him into this nonsense by this installed regime, mind you. But I'm just trying to show you guys something. This is the Office of the President's page, Facebook page, right? On the night of this boxing match, guess what? Office of the President Facebook page carried it live. We'll deal with Charles Ramson shortly, right? But Irfan Ali was also there. He was, in the beginning, he said, let's get ready to rumble or some crap. God in heaven knows what he was saying. But he was there. They gave their support to this boxing match 100%. And now I'm getting to my point, right? Don't get upset and some of you may suck your teeth, right? Please bear with me for a moment. Now, before the fight, there was the big hype. Elton Dari, again, nothing to do with his brother. I really like his style. I think, his last match there, he got floored about 3 times, right? He wasn't 100% how he usually is, right? He's a good boxer, mind you. Elton, again, congratulations to you. And so he was at the Office of the President, and they hyped everything up. There's Irfan Ali, the guy who with this fictitious thing about one Guyana. You saw the treatment, right? I've shown you guys. And in the ring, well, not Duncan's ring, right? The real boxing ring, there was this guy, Elton Dari, being congratulated by the Minister of Sports, the little boy. What's his name? You guys help me out there. Junior, not J.R. Crawford Jr., but Ramson Jr. Yes, Ramson Jr. Ramson Jr. I don't know. I see some of you guys saying that my friend Elton Dari got licks. It was a tough fight. Elton got some blows for real. Elton went down about 3 times, but I wish you guys can see my smile. But Elton is the champ. Elton is the champ, and he's our champ. Because if he was fighting in Panama, I don't know if they probably would have done the same, but he was fighting in Guyana, and so he's our champ, right? Regardless of how we twist it, how we turn it, how we won, or whatever, he's our champ. All right? So, okay, guys. I like, but look at all the dignitaries and so forth was there with him. And this is how it should be, mind you. This is exactly how it ought to be. All right? So don't get me wrong. Unfortunately, mind you, we go back to this one Guyana that Irfan Ali loves to talk about. Every single day, every opportunity he gets, it's always about a one Guyana. But it doesn't seem to be a one Guyana under the PPPC regime. Not one Guyana at all. We see how these athletes are being treated. You saw the treatment of Elton Dari, right? He was there at Office of the President. The Minister of Sports, Ramson Jr., was there at the fight. Irfan Ali was there at the fight. All the government or quote-unquote government officials were there at the fight. They were all there. Well, not all of them, but they were there. On the day that these guys were running, these our athletes that brought home gold, bronze, and silver. They brought that home for us. They didn't get any proper treatment. They didn't get a chance to meet, well, I don't know whether it makes a difference, to meet Irfan Ali. They weren't invited at the office of the president and so forth and so on. They didn't get this sort of treatment at all. This is the one Guyana that Irfan Ali loves to talk about. A divided Guyana it is. And he, Irfan Ali, is actually dividing Guyana. There's not a Guyana that is unified under the PPP regime, because our taxpayers' dollar is paying for these guys. Look at Office of the President. Wouldn't it have been nice if they carried the Carifta games right there? But no, they didn't. They didn't give a damn. They know what they're up to. And again, it's unfortunate that I have to bring Elton Derry, that I messaged personally and congratulated him. And as always, Elton would respond to my messages. So congratulations to Elton. This has nothing to do with Elton. It was a tough fight, though. And when I say tough fight, I mean really, really tough fight. But Elton won. Elton won. And all the big wigs were out there for Elton, which is how it ought to be. But no one, absolutely belatedly, they went out for these folks. And now, before we move on from this, these athletes were invited to meet with Ramson Jr. And after they met with Ramson Jr., this is what happened. Ramson Jr. said that he doesn't want to give them anything or make any announcements. Or it's BS. I wish you could see my lips and read exactly what I want to say. It's BS. That is what it's about. Now, you're going to meet with these athletes. You don't give them anything. No appreciation, no token, no nothing. But you just say that you prefer to meet with them individually. And once he meets with them individually, he will know exactly what their individual needs are. Give me a goddamn break. Huh? Give them a piece of land. Give them something. Well, who are you fooling? You have nothing to give them. You allow them there with a long hand. They walked in there. They got nothing from you. Absolutely nothing. Don't give me no crap but individual needs. Individual, look. I really want to say something else, but I'm not going to say, because I asked our producer to get in touch. I want, lots of things I want to talk about, but I've asked our producer to get it. You know, we've gone up. We're really big here on 107.1 FM. We have producers to get in touch with the attorney. A lot of people have been asking, oh, they want the attorney's number. They want to get in touch with her for some criminal matter, some fall down, slip down, fall down. They want to get in touch with her, some immigration matter, divorce. Some of you on this show getting divorced, you know. Some of you. But whatever it is, we will get the lawyer on, Miss Washington, to run you through quickly so that I remind you that we have a lawyer right here that you can get in touch with. Give me a minute, please. I'm not done as yet. Give me a minute. All right? Divided Guyana. This guy but one Guyana. And today happens to be his birthday, right? His birthday. And I'm not sure that he's 40 or maybe he's 41 or something like that. But I don't know. Have you guys seen Rowley, Keith Rowley out of Trinidad and Tobago? Keith Rowley is 72. And it looks as though somebody has been grazing. See the rope there? I'm not calling names. I don't know if it's Rowley or if it's Irfan Ali, but somebody has been grazing in some sort of pasture, and the pasture hasn't been working for them. But this is the guy loves to talk about a one Guyana, right? Loves to walk around the place and muddle around the place with a one Guyana. I don't know. I just don't know. What else happening to you guys? How was your weekend? What else can we talk about before we get our lawyer on? And I want to bring her on for a couple of minutes. Indeed, just a couple of minutes. I know she has had a very busy day, and I've asked her to come on with us. I'm looking at some of your comments, your One Guyana comments, and how you feel about that propaganda. That's what it is, propaganda. Guyana is not just a one Guyana crap. It's one people, one nation, one destiny. That is how we knew it. That is how we know Guyana to be. And no one is going to step in. No politician or no political hustler is going to step in and try to change that. It is not going to happen. Not one Guyana. It is one people, one nation, one destiny. All right, let's move on. What else can we Lemon, are you there? Good. I know a lot of you guys want to hear about you guys want to get my view on this, right? Oh yes. Oh yes. You will get my take on this. I want to talk to you guys about this. This is a policeman that fell asleep while he was guarding the home of an official of the PPP regime, an advisor to Ropes and Ben. The guy's name is Harry Gill. I want to talk about this, but I won't talk about it now. Let me allow you guys to share the link a little more. I will talk about it, but not just now. Let's get to the lawyer. And that gun is pointing in the direction of the lawyer. I don't know. Lemon, can you take that off? And now let me ask you something. Good evening to you, madam. How are you?
Hi, good evening, Mark. I am well, and good evening to all your listeners out there.
Thank you so much. And we're glad that you're here, taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us just for a few minutes to talk about your law firm and some of the things that you offer there. People have been contacting us, and I'm like, the best thing to do is to have Lemon make contact with you so that you can be on this evening. But before we get into your law practice, you have a security guard at your house. You walk in, you see your security guard is sleeping with his gun right there like that. What would be the first thing you'd want to do?
I mean, I would find that really alarming to have somebody who's supposed to guard me or to ensure my safety fall asleep on the job. So the first reaction would be actually is to get his supervisor and to get him up and out of there because he's not doing his job.
Okay. He's not doing his job. I got you. That's fair enough. I would do the same. And maybe all of you out there would probably do the same. No one is going to wake him up and say, hey, give me a hug, man. Come on, man. I like what you're doing. You're here to sleep, right? Come on, give me a high five. They wouldn't do that. But the other side of the coin is that this young man, of course, you're a pastor as well. This young man is actually he is claiming that he worked 20 hours.
Wow.
So that changed everything now, right?
Yes.
20 hours. That's according to what we're hearing. 20 hours. How does that change the situation with this young cop?
Yeah, that makes a huge difference knowing that he was overworked. I'm pretty sure he's not paid for all those overtime hours, but that's not the ideal working conditions that you would want to have an employee working under. I'm not too familiar with the labor laws in Guyana, but I do know if that was here, we have laws that, determine how much hours you can work and what type of pay you can get, what type of compensation. And to have somebody work for 20 hours, I'm not sure if he was forced or if he voluntarily agreed to those hours, if he was compensated for it. But it definitely makes a difference knowing that he was forced to, well, not forced, because I don't know all the details or all the circumstances, but it makes a big difference knowing that he was working for 20 hours, because no one should be allowed to work that many hours without getting a break or being able to take a nap or something.
Absolutely, but not to take it changes everything, because 20 hours. This guy is human. This guy is human, right? I mean, I know folks, police who guard, they go out and they guard properties of government officials and so forth, and they're not treated properly. Government officials, some of them don't say good morning to them, they don't say good afternoon, they treat these guys rough. And not just, this is not confined to one particular political party when they're in government, you know. This is across the board. They don't treat these security guys properly at all, as though they're human beings. But would you take your camera out and video this policeman sleeping? Or what would you do in terms of waking him up?
I would just try to get him up rather than filming him because, like you said, 20 hours. If whoever filmed him or took this picture was aware of the circumstances surrounding the nap, then
Probably not. But
yeah, it wouldn't be a good idea to film somebody who's been working for that's a lot of hours. That's sort of in human conditions. You're not supposed to work that many hours, even here where people do 13, 14 hours a day. That type of 20 hours, that's crazy. Almost
you
20
know,
hours.
and the thing is, crime is the increase indeed, and you have a TSU rank that is guarding someone who is not a presidential advisor or anything, but he's a ministerial advisor that has this level of security is another cause of concern, because I'm not sure if the previous administration did the same with this level of ministerial advisor. But I do know that presidential advisors under the previous administration and this illegal regime, they do have TSU ranks guarding them, I think for the most part. But this is another issue to have a ministerial advisor. Is he the only ministerial advisor with such security? I don't know. But let me say this to our listeners, that in order to get to the bottom of this situation, I made contact with the acting commissioner of police, the acting commissioner of police this afternoon. And according to Mr. Hicken, he said, hey, the cop has not been charged. That's according to the acting commissioner of police, Hicken. The cop has not been charged. And I repeat, the cop has not been charged. The cop will not be charged. The cop will not lose his job. According to Hickens, there is an investigation. Not why he fell asleep, but there is an investigation as to whether the allegation that he worked 20 hours is ridiculous. And so that is what's under investigation right now. That investigation should be completed by tomorrow if it hasn't already. And so I just want you guys to know that he's not being fired, because I was very upset when I did call the commissioner of police and ask him, why would you guys want to charge this guy? Why would you guys want to put this guy out on the streets or something like that? And he explained that the guy is not going to be fired. It's a breach of chapter 1701, neglect of duty, because we all know, and we try to be fair as well, that nobody wants a policeman to be sleeping with a gun like that. Anything can happen. Anything can happen. Any single thing can happen. But if it is true that this guy has worked 20 hours, no water, no food, no water, no food. I'll tell you what Harry Gill said, because I reached out to him as well. But anything else you'd like to add on this particular situation, hearing exactly what the acting commissioner of police has said, that this guy is not going to be fired, he's not going to lose his job, but they will investigate the authenticity regarding the 20 hours working. As a lawyer, your take.
Mark, in this regard, I would be very concerned about the labor laws in Guyana, because whether or not you're a police officer or any type of public servant, There must be laws that would determine how and what type of conditions you're permitted to work under. So in my mind, I'm thinking there should not have even been any discussion of this officer being terminated or suspended or anything of the sort. But what the discussion should be is how do we regulate the hours in which these police officers are allowed to work, and whether or not a police officer should be allowed to even work for 20 hours. I don't think that's humanly possible to have somebody sit overnight, almost 24 hours, just short 4 hours of an entire day, to be working around the clock. That type of condition, that type of labor condition is not good. And in this day and age, it's not really surprising that Guyana has police officers working around the clock like that. And then when they fall asleep, as you said, the investigation is to determine whether or not he did work the 20 hours rather than if there was any misconduct on his part. So having that being disclosed now, I'm saying that they still need to have proper laws in place so that something like this would not happen, period, or it should not have happened, where you have a police officer toiling all night and fall asleep within that 20-hour period that he was required to work.
Absolutely. That should not be the case. He's human being. And I'm glad that it's under investigation. The 20 hours, that is, nobody. And this is why I oftentimes say that police, men and women, when these things happen to them, they need to come forward. They need to speak out. And a lot of times they don't. Yeah, this is ridiculous. The other question is, and I've seen some of the comments during the course of the day and even right here now, is that why is this guy, Harry Gill, a ministerial advisor? He's an advisor to the Minister of Home Affairs, right? He has this level of security and not just a regular security guard or maybe something of that sort. Or what's the reason for such high level security for Harry Gill? I reached out to Harry Gill for a comment, and this is what Harry Gill says. And I just want our listeners to know that the guy in the red is Harry Gill. Okay, this is what Harry Gill said. That, and I'm reading everything here now. I took this video, but did not post it. I arrived home at 3 p.m. in the afternoon. Of course, 3 p.m. is afternoon. To change my clothes to attend a meeting. The heavy iron gate was unlocked and makes a loud sound when it opens. That did not wake him. I have 2 dogs. The German Shepherd barks nonstop whenever the vehicle pulls in to stop into the driveway. That did not wake him either. I started the video because I didn't know if the rank was dead or sound asleep. Now let's pause there for a moment. Attorney at law. The guy who has made the video is saying, look, he made the video because he wasn't too sure whether the guy was alive or dead. Your take.
I do not for 1 minute buy that, because the first thing, if I'm thinking somebody is dead or it might be something serious, my first inclination would be to either dial 911 or try to get some sort of medical attention. So I would approach the person, first of all, to try to, alert them that I'm here, try to wake that person. So him filming the police officer, the security guard, that kind of looks suspicious. It looks like he was intending to get him fired or intended to do something, take action against him, versus, trying to determine whether or not he's dead or alive. Because it could be a case where Gil is trying to figure out whether or not, he has an alibi. So if he films this, if it turns out that he's dead, then he has an alibi and he has this video recording to show that he was nowhere there and he just arrived and he was filming that. That makes absolutely no sense to me, because the most dignified thing as a human being would be you turn up, you go home, you find your security guard fast asleep, to try to wake him up, try to alert him, try to check on him, see if he's okay, because probably he's not. And like you said, he's been working for 20 hours. So to just go and record something like that and then publish it, I'm not sure where he published it, if it was published on Facebook or wherever. That's kind of violating that person, because if he was dead, it would still be something that needs to be looked into. And I do not buy the whole idea of him trying to figure out whether or not the security guard is, safe and alive, or he must have known that that security guard had worked a lot of hours, and chances are that the security guard was tired. I would be surprised if someone is stationed outside your home or to guard you and you're not aware of how many hours that person has been there. If it's a case where they constantly rotate those security guards and you're used to seeing a different person, probably when he left in the morning, he saw that guy, and then he came back again at night. That same person was there, and then in the morning again, the same security guard was there. So he must have known that this person was tired, and he was just trying to
Well,
sleep.
apparently they move from location to location, right? And so it is not the 20 hours right there, according to investigation so far, right? And what Gil is saying is that this guy came sometime in the morning. That's according to what he is saying. I don't know whether I should continue reading everything that he said because I had to smile. You're a lawyer. You know people's defense. Let me just for the sake of our audience, I'll continue reading a little bit more of it. And it says here. Let me see. Harry Gill, that is. Um, Sorry, Harry Gill continues here. He says his driver approached, called out, then knocked my vehicle that was parked in the driveway. Only then did he jump out of his sleep. I regret, this is Harry Gill now. I regret this video went viral. But consider this. Had he locked the gate knowing he's likely to fall asleep, I could not gain access to him sleeping. Further, a criminal could have entered, took away his weapon, and put his life in great danger. And for the records, every morning, and I want you guys to hear this, please, attorney. And for the record, every morning before I leave for work, I give the TSU rank on duty a hot cup of Taster's Choice coffee and a packet of biscuits, crackers. When I'm home, I often give them refreshments, toilet paper, etc. There is always bottled water outside for them to use. This rank did not spend 20 hours at my home. He arrived in the morning and was sleeping at 3 in the afternoon. Mark, I have many photos and a few videos of TSU rank sleeping, mostly at nights when they are on duty. I have never published any on Facebook. Blah, 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 blah. Your take again, attorney.
I'm still of the opinion that if he has seen this many times before, the most appropriate thing would have been to do is call the supervisor and try to investigate, like, why are they constantly falling asleep? Is it a situation where they're working many hours? Is it's a situation where you're just sending tired people to my home? But to buy the fact that he just recorded this for those reasons, for safety precautions, I'm still not buying it. I believe he is misrepresenting the facts. I do understand he said the security guard came there after he had worked somewhere else, but still, if you approach a security guard, because you know their job usually require them to be up for many hours, why not call his supervisor, find out from the supervisor, like, hey, you have a security guard here who's fallen asleep on the job. How many hours has he worked? How about looking into some humanitarian issues here? How about checking and make sure that they're actually complying with labor laws rather than recording this and then you publish it online for the world to see now, like, hey, this guy is sleeping on the job. Will you tell the whole story? Did he tell the story when he published the video? Did he let folks know that, hey, there's a possibility that the security guard slept? He didn't sleep for at least 20 hours prior to falling asleep on the job. Was the whole story told? I'm guessing it wasn't, but now it's being exposed here that, the security guard was actually tired.
And Harry is actually saying, and this is, I smiled when I read that part, that, hey, this guy ought not to be hungry, or TS2 ranks ought not to be hungry. I give them coffee. I give them biscuits or crackers. Say, hey, eat this. Come on. I don't know what's happening, but the question is whether he is entitled to this sort of security. It seems as though most or all of our listeners are saying no, he's not entitled to a TSU rank at his home. He is just what is called a ministerial advisor. I don't know what is the case, whether this was the practice under the previous regime for this level of advisor to have such security and not just a regular, maybe security guard be there with a baton or whatever, or another armed guy or whatever. But that's another issue. His response to me went on. He spoke about buying ice cream. Um, that is that his dogs love ice cream, and when he would buy ice cream for his dogs, he will also buy ice cream for the security rank at the police rank at his home. I don't know. Sorry.
I
I,
think what he's trying to do here is to, cover the whole purpose of him putting the video up there and cause you to not look at the real reason behind it. And he's trying to impress people that, listen, I'm not a bad person. I just published this video. I just happened to publish it. I didn't thought anything of it. But say all those other things about the way you treat those security guards. We're not there, so we don't really know how he actually treats them. Because if it's the case that he actually treats them well, my question is, I listened to what you read. He said the security guy arrived, TSU security arrived in the morning, and then he came back after 3 o'clock and he saw that he was fast asleep. The thing is, he doesn't know what time that security guard fell asleep. And I still believe the proper thing to do, if you turn up at home and you see that the TSU security officer he's fast asleep, call his supervisor. Ask his supervisor what is going on. Try to investigate at that level. Don't just take a picture of somebody sleeping and just publish it. He is lucky, because if he was here, that security guard could have found a reason to take him to court and to sue him. But I already know how it goes in Guyana with the laws, so I wouldn't even suggest that he could sue him in Guyana, because he wouldn't have any cause of action unless he suffered some sort of injury or some sort of damage as a result of the picture being published without his consent, because the video was without his knowledge or without his consent, that Mr. Gill published this picture of this TSU officer, and that's wrong. But whether or not there's a remedy in Guyana for publishing something like that without somebody's knowledge or consent, it's unknown to me at this point. Because as far as I know, I'm not aware of any cause of action that you can take in Guyana.
absolutely. And according to Chapter 1701, the police laws, governing police laws, is this here is actually none of us condoning a police officer falling asleep in this manner. It is dangerous indeed. But the circumstances, according to this cop, 20 hours on duty. The maximum amount is 12 hours. This guy has exceeded it by almost 8 more hours, if it is true. 20 hours on the job. This is expected. 20 hours for this young cop, or even if it's a middle-aged cop or an old cop like me, 20 hours work, whether cop or not, it's just, it's unreal. It's heartless. And I do hope the acting top cop said this evening to me that they are investigating it. He should get a report at his desk by sometime soon, maybe tomorrow. And that the cop is not going to lose his job. He will be warned. But uppermost on their mind in this investigation is the 20 hours allegation. So we will see what comes out of that.
Mark, I'm wondering, what is the warning going to be about, that you shouldn't fall asleep after
Don't do it again. That's the warning. Don't do it again. But speaking of falling asleep, though, attorney, if you can recognize, or anybody in the audience could recognize, there's someone in Parliament sleeping, a parliamentarian sleeping in Parliament, sleeping, supposed to be there for the laws of Guyana and to ensure that everything is respected and all manner of things. And there he is, he's sleeping. I'll tell you guys. Let me see if anybody in the audience recognize that person sleeping there in Parliament. His feet up, throwback, sleeping in Parliament. In Parliament. I'm also concerned about these things. Taxpayers' money, hundreds of thousands of dollars every month they're getting. And look at this guy sleeping in Parliament. I'm looking at some of your comments to see if you know who that is. No, GT Rudyard. It is not Anil, right? No, it's not. But before we go on, let me just reveal the individual who is sleeping there. Manzoor Nadir. He's now the Speaker of the National Assembly. And that's how these guys operate. So let them not talk about the cop and the cop fell asleep and he lazy and all manner of things, or he might be hungry. Look at Manzoor Nadir. Look at him. Throwback, sleeping in that manner in Parliament. In Parliament. So now let's go on to, y'all want to talk about sleeping? They're sleeping on the job in Parliament. Shame and disgrace to these guys in Parliament. And I'm not done. I'm not done. Look who else is sleeping. Look who else is sleeping. The guy that walked to Linden from Myconi, Sam Hines. Look, in Parliament, sleeping. And they're talking about the cop who worked 20 hours. 20 hours that cop worked, according to information, mind you. According to the cop, that is, right? And sleeping while they're making hundreds of thousands of dollars. Look, nobody got to throw biscuit or coffee and give them. They get taxpayers' money. They get biscuit, they get coffee, they get Milo, they get Ovaltine, they get every single thing. Everything. And plus ice cream too. All of that and more they got right there. And a big plate of food. But yet they are sleeping in Parliament. Sleeping in Parliament. Lots of them do that in Parliament. Whether they're PPP or whether they're coalition. Wake up. Somebody wake up Ramjatan there, man. Wake up Ramjatan. All of them sleeping in Parliament. And from now on, when you guys see any of these guys sleeping in Parliament, wake them up. Video them. Publish the video as well. They don't work for 20 hours like that cop, according to what the cop is saying. 20 hours. But these guys just throw back. They knock out. Knock out. Look, this other one. Barry Ramsaran. Knocked out in Parliament. Video them. Circulate the video. Throw coffee. Give them biscuit and all. Buy ice cream for them. Now, how would you feel you see parliamentarians, attorney, parliamentarians sleeping like this in Parliament? Your take.
mean, it just goes to show the frailty of human beings because on the one hand, the actions of somebody else is condemned for doing exactly what our parliamentarians are supposed to be doing the opposite, not sleeping on the job, but paying attention to what is happening and, assist in making policies and laws to assist the people of Guyana, but they're sleeping on the job. I'm not surprised. This is something that is very common. Sometimes people fall asleep because they didn't have enough rest, or in the cases of these older people, we're not sure what's going on in the body that's causing them to fall asleep on the job. But it just goes to show the frailty of the human being, and this is why no one should put anyone on blast. That you shouldn't put an ordinary working class person on blast for falling asleep on the job, because look, we call them blue collar people in higher positions, and they are sleeping on the job. You have parliamentarians sleeping on the job. So if they can sleep, what else? Who else should we not expect to sleep? The people at the highest position in the country, they're falling asleep on the job. Mark, you do not fall asleep on the job.
The point is that it's like, they're making a big issue. Look, again, it is wrong. Yeah, nobody should be sleeping on the job. But at the same time, I saw some of the comments against the cop, who has worked, according to information, for 20 hours that cop has worked. But look, our lawmakers right there in Parliament, they didn't care. They knock out. They knocked out like that.
but yet they're condemning the actions of an ordinary person who lacks sleep. So
And
this,
nobody's going to discipline them, you know. Nobody's going to discipline these guys for sleeping in parliament like that. No one is going to discipline them. Who disciplined Sam Hines? Anybody? No, absolutely no one. Who disciplined, what's this guy, Manzoor Nadir? No one. Absolutely no one. Who disciplined Barry Ramsarat? Look at him. Sleeping. No one. Well, there's a difference with a sleep and a knockout. My friend Kemraj Ramjatan is knocked out here, right? Compared to this guy just dozed off. This guy dozed off. This cop dozed off. There's a difference. But these guys in parliament fell asleep. I don't know. What else can we talk about, attorney? What else is there to talk about? You've been following what's happening in Guyana. Before we talk about your law practice, anything else that's bothering you that the athletes, the treatment of the athletes? I'm sure you've heard of that.
yeah, and I did heard you mention it earlier on the show regarding treatment that was meted out to the athletes. Um, Guyana is a very unique country, very unique in terms of the things they do and the way we act as people, and not giving athletes the kind of respect that they should be given. In other countries, they're given so much respect and so much admiration. They're rewarded for things that they do, for their accomplishments. But in Guyana, it doesn't seem the same. I heard you saying, how about giving them some land, or, and I agree. We should treat, because, being an athlete is the limit. You have a limited, span, a limited lifespan of that profession. You're not going to be an athlete for a very long time. And if you accomplish something, I believe you should be rewarded. We don't have big companies who are giving these athletes big endorsement, $1 billion worth of endorsement, but we do have the government who could at least reward them for doing something for our country. Like you said, maybe some sort of reward in terms of land. We have a lot of land. That would be a good idea, to give lands to our athletes, if not money, offer them monetary rewards for what they've accomplished. But we are just different again, and the way people are treated, the way people who do great things for our country are not recognized or given the type of recognition they should be given.
Exactly. And this is the one Guyana that they talk about. I don't know. Are you seeing a one Guyana with all of these, division and spitefulness coming from the regime? Are you seeing a one Guyana?
I don't. And, sometimes I wish that a new, younger generation would be able to accomplish a one Guyana, or be able to pull the country together. But I think from generation to generation, it seems like we're perpetuating the same thing, because now we have this president, and we're thinking, okay, he's not like Barjagdio, or he's not like, any of the previous presidents. But no, it's supposed to be somebody from a better generation, and like you said, maybe he's being grazed in bad pastures or something. But I don't see the one Guyana that I'm hoping for. I don't see that on this regime. I don't know if it's even possible, because we keep poisoning the minds of our young people. So if we keep passing this poisonous type of politics down from generation to generation, I'm not sure how or when we'll be able to accomplish a one Guyana, where we're indeed one people, one nation, one destiny. We're always constantly segregated based on race. We have a racial politics. And I desperately pray sometimes that this racial politics would cease in Guyana, and we would indeed recognize we are one people. We need to exercise that level of togetherness, and we need a president who could preach togetherness to the people and demonstrate it by their actions, by what they do, by what they, it's not just I for my race and you for your race. That's not the way we should be. That's not the way I'm hoping for us to see Guyana in 10 years from now. My children, I wish they would see a unified Guyana in their lifetime. I wish that, all the younger generations who are coming up would at some point be able to witness that. And I don't know, Mark. I don't know if it's possible, but I do pray.
Yep, we all have to pray. Speaking of praying, let's hope that at some point in time there'll be something, a bird can fly on our shoulder and whisper something nice. Speaking of a bird, what's your take on this monument?
When I saw that monument, Mark, I was, I mean, I'm not ashamed to say I really don't know what it really represents. Because that looks like a bird with something stuck in it, like it's impaled. It's an impaled bird. So, what could an impaled bird, meaning like a dead bird, what could that possibly represent to the people of Guyana? It's an impaled bird. He's not alive. It's not supposed to be something that's alive. So, I'm not sure what was in the president's mind when they decided to create this type of monument or have somebody design it. I'm not sure what is. I mean, Mark, maybe you could enlighten us to what is behind this. What was in his thought process when he decided to have this designed?
I just don't know. Speaking of the birds, the bird. Sorry, I just don't know what was on his mind. What was in on Irfan's mind when he did that? I honestly don't know. But let's move on, though. I agree with you. That's not really a monument. It's something, and we haven't gotten a cost. Is it 20 million, 30 million, 40 million, 50 million? We don't know as yet. I don't know what sort of bird that is, but
It's impaled, Mark.
yeah.
It's impaled.
Let's move on now. We're hearing that Irfan Ali wants to meet with the newly elected opposition leader, um, Aubrey Norton, uh, which is a good thing that they are going to meet, but not on the terms of Irfan Ali for just appointments of persons of constitutional offices. Mr. Aubrey Norton is saying no, the meeting has to be broader than that, and it has to be serious on other issues. I agree with Aubrey Norton on that. But this is what this guy is saying. And now I showed you the meeting and what Aubrey's saying now that he wants that meeting to cover other issues and in terms of governance and so forth. But this guy, who happens to be a senior counsel, who also happens to be former Speaker of the National Assembly, and in my opinion, he, from a scale of 1 to 10, I rank him a 1, because when he was Speaker of the National Assembly, it was so undemocratic. But this is a guy who now tries to prove him, trying to paint a picture as though he believes in democracy and so forth. Ralph Ramkaran. Ralph Ramkaran is saying here now, issues Norton wants to raise with Irfan Ali more appropriate for parliamentary committee. Why should those things that Mr. Norton wants to raise with Irfan Ali should be for parliamentary when these two guys are leaders? Well, you know, Irfan Ali sits there as the installed president. Mr. Norton sits there as an elected leader of the opposition. Do you agree with Ralph Ramkaran?
I do not, because there must be issues that the two leaders could meet together privately and discuss and put to the forefront and address things that they expect to see happening in the country. And then later on, if those issues that they discuss together are, determined to be issues which policies and laws must be put in place to deal with, then I think it moves towards parliamentary level. But I do not believe Mr. Ramkaran is correct on this issue that Norton should not raise this issue with the president. I think he should have that opportunity to go and meet as the opposition leader, as they have done in the past, and discuss these pertinent issues that are affecting the country. And then later, like I said, if it's determined that it warrants parliamentary level, then you move towards the next level and you discuss it at that forum. But there should be no obstacle or hindrance to the two leaders meeting and discussing issues together at all.
Absolutely none. But like I've said, coming from Ralph Ramkaran, who was so undemocratic when he was Speaker of the National Assembly, it is as though for the most part, the opposition didn't have a voice when Ralph Ramkaran was sitting there as a Speaker of the National Assembly. Moving on, we're looking at the time, and I want to get some information about your law firm in the event that somebody has maybe a divorce matter, maybe immigration case, maybe they slip and they fell somewhere. I need for you to give out your information so that people can make contact with you. But before we do all of that, take a look at this picture. You recognize the guy standing, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Aubrey Norton there standing. The guy that is sitting in that red circle is a guy by the name of Peter, not Peter from the Bible. That actually was it Peter that denied that he has any knowledge of Christ, right? Your pastor, you know that whole biblical story about Peter, and when the cock crowed 3 times, he would deny it. Yes. So Peter now in the red circle is Peter Ramsuru. He was a member of the People's National Congress Reform. He was one of the candidates, I believe, in the 2001 general and regional elections. He was out drinking wine and breaking bread with these guys. Now, Aubrey Norton, well, he now jumped ship. This guy, Peter Ramsrup, he's deep in bed with the PPP, right? He jumps ship. And people think it's only certain gender jump ships, right? That's not true. A lot of these political guys jump ship too, and do far worse things than what those other people that they claim jump ships in the nights and so forth. But this guy, Peter Ramsru, what is your take on these government officials? Look, describe that look, how he's looking at.
That's a look of disdain. He just looks like he's looking at Mr. Norton with sheer disdain in his eyes, his facial expression. And the whole issue of jumping ship or the whole issue of changing course or switching parties, I'm really not surprised because, sometimes we stand on shaky grounds in Guyana. You don't know where you stand. We have to be very, very careful because I remember the entire issue with I'm not recalling his name when he basically betrayed the coalition.
Charan
Um,
Das.
yeah, and basically betrayed the coalition. And we constantly find this where certain type of people will be betraying or switching and changing course or jumping ship in whatever they're doing because they're not really true to their party. They're not really true to their political views. A lot of times people are just there for whatever it is that they can get. They're there to, make a name for themselves, or they're there to make money for themselves, or whatever it is they're trying to accomplish. So they're not really true or dedicated to any political party because they don't really stand for anything. And the way he's looking at Mr. Norton with sheer disdain, it tells me a lot. I mean, a picture tells 1,000 words. Sometimes people doesn't need to say something, but you can look at them and you could, kind of decipher what they're thinking or what their feelings are. And if that picture tells anything about what he feels about the APNU party, I mean, that's not a very good expression. And, I guess we have to be careful. Each party has to be careful, especially the coalition. They have to be very careful and choose wisely and don't just choose any person because you don't want to have situations where members are jumping ship or they're switching because that means you never had the values. You didn't believe in what you were doing. You were just there for one or whatever your particular motives were, but you were never true to what the party stand for or what the coalition believes in. Because look at you now, you're on the other side of the fence.
Exactly. And that's how these guys play the game. It's not about country, it's not about democracy, it's about a hustle. They're flatfoot hustlers. And Peter Ramsrup is a political flatfoot hustler. He tried hustling with the coalition, 2001 elections, 2006 elections, I believe, and then he jumped ship. One of the worst set of ship jumpers Guyana could have at this point in time. And I have more respect for that old trade and that old trade of people that they claim jump ship. But when men jump ship like this, it's a different thing. Totally different thing. This is a guy who sat right next to Charan Das behind Charan Das when Charan Das did what he did. But you are correct. You got to be careful who you bring into your house, whether political house or otherwise. And it's something that the coalition has been reckless, very reckless about. Because as Charan Das did what he did, don't be mistaken. They still have more Charan Das's in the coalition. All right. Lots of Charan Das's still in the coalition. We want to go, but before we go, Talk a little bit about your practice. People have been asking me for divorce matter. I said, I'm not a lawyer. We have a lawyer that comes on this show, and people have been talking about somebody slip and fell and all manner of things, immigration matters. What do you do? And talk to them and give them all of your information for them to get in touch with you.
Again, Mark, every time I come here, I'm always grateful. And I want to say before I say that, thank you again to all your audience, everyone who listens and everyone who supports my office. A lot of the people, a lot of your viewers, sometimes they don't themselves need help, but they refer the office to somebody that they know. A lot of them have family members, friends, neighbors who need an attorney. And a lot of times they'll call me and they'll say, you know what, I give your card to X person, or I told X person to call you, and I'm thankful for all the support I continuously receiving from your audience. Now, I just want to say that having said that, our office offer four areas we practice, and that's immigration. We do family law, which includes divorce, personal injuries, which includes medical malpractice. We do, and also landlord and tenant. And I do work with other attorneys and paralegals who assist with some of these areas. Okay. So if you need any representation, any of the listeners here, if you're in need of any of the representation as it relates to any of those areas I just mentioned, please give us a call at 718-877-3100. My office is located at 455 Utica Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. You could do a walk-in, but just know if you do walk-in, the attorneys are not always there. Sometimes we're in court, virtual court or actual court. So give us a call, 718-877-3100. Once again, people, thank you. Thank you so much for all the support.
Yeah, I've noticed every single night this guy Samuel Meadows. Every night. I'm not sure. This guy promotes you every single night. You got to give him a freebie whenever he calls and identifies himself and can show his ID. Every single night he puts up your information.
Okay, so I want to say thank you very much, Samuel Mendoza. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Every single night. Attorney at law, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to have you on with us. And I know I promised you just 10 minutes. You spent almost the entire hour with us here. Anything else you wish to say before you go, maybe pertaining to Guyana and the so-called One Guyana, maybe your law firm, something? Your closing remarks, please.
Well, once again, Mark, thank you for having me on your show. It's always a pleasure being here, whether it's 10 minutes or 45 minutes. And again, thanks to all the audience. And, my closing remarks, as always, I will continue to pray for a better Guyana. And I'm praying that somehow God raises the right person up to lead Guyana into the country that we are dreaming of, we're all hoping for. Even if it's not in some of you who are listening to me, even if it's not in your lifetime, hopefully at some point things will turn around and Guyana will be a one Guyana indeed, because that's what we're all striving for, oneness. We're all striving to have unity and to have happiness. So, I'll continue to pray for my country. I love Guyana so much. It's such a dear country to my heart, and I will continue to pray that God will do something to bring some sort of changes to my home country. Once again, I love you guys, and good night.
Sorry about that. I almost dozed off for a minute.
Mark sleeping on the job.
Sorry about that. Oh my gosh. It happens. People do doze off at times, right? And as we started, my gosh, it's a shame that some of the folks would want to go down. And when I say go down, I really mean like target this cop, as though none of them have ever done it. Yes, I'm saying that with a gun in his hand, it doesn't look too nice, but he's human. He's human, right? Just like all these other guys dozing off in Parliament and so forth, dozing off.
You see, Mark,
dozing off.
Mark, the thing is, even though I would want to forgive the fact that he fall asleep with the gun. I know it's dangerous. I know it's, it puts him in a precarious situation to have a gun in the hands and fall asleep. But yet still, I'm always very careful of the frailties of human. We're all human, and we all make mistakes. We all err. You know what I mean? So for me to chastise a police, a TSA officer like that for something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, absolutely. But thank you so much, as always, Attorney at Law. And for folks who want to get in touch with our in house attorney, as we oftentimes say, our in house attorney, Samuel has the number there and all the information. But thank you so much. Give my regards to your colleagues in the office and everyone. And God bless you.
Thank you, Mark, and good night to everyone.
Yeah. All right. Our in house attorney. That's how we've gone up. Really, really up. We have an in house attorney, right? But let's get back as we close tonight's program. I don't condone any policeman or policewoman falling asleep um, with their guns like this. I don't condone that at all. But under the circumstances, we're hearing that this young policeman spent 20 hours. You know, I don't know. I just feel it for this cop. Honestly, I know at times they don't stand up for their rights. I know at times they follow illegal orders from the regime and they go and they arrest individuals. Some of them beat people and so forth and so on. It's time that they start standing up for their right. But I couldn't sit by and allow the sort of propaganda that's being pushed out to this cop that, oh, he's hungry, he's lazy, he fall asleep, and all these manner of things. And some are looking at it because of his ethnicity that he fell asleep and all these things. I couldn't. But I'll hold the acting top cop to his word that this cop is not going to be fired. He will be spoken to, which I think is the right thing to do. And if it is true that he has spent 20 hours on the job, my gosh. And could you imagine how much they're being paid, right? Couple dollars every month. Couple dollars. The other issue, though, before I go, Harry Gill, is he entitled to this sort of security, TSU, or just a regular rank from that low-level security agency run by a low-level individual named Roshan Khan? Is he, this guy, Harry Gill, entitled to a TSU rank? That's another issue. And I hope that it is dealt with and debated on as early as possible. All right? This, moving away from that now to this, the anniversary of this Guy Oil corruption. The corruption at Guy Oil. The guy who was part of this corruption was corrupt allegation, was part of ANOG. He now jumped back into some guy named Connie Blair, right? He's another, not even a ship jumper. I call him like a paddleboat jumper, flatfoot political hustle, flatfoot hustler. Jumped from the PPP to ANOG. He couldn't get his way in ANOG, so he jumped back into the bosoms of the PPP. Look, this is just his anniversary of allegations of corruption at Guy Oil. Corruption upon corruption. I don't know. Before I go quickly, let me check some of your comments out. But I thank you all so much. I thank you all so much for your time, as often. We've got to pray for Guyana, man. We really, really have to pray for Guyana. We have to. And when I say pray for Guyana, I don't mean the kind of prayers where you just go down on your knees, like you go down on your knees and you pretend as though you're praying, not that sort of prayer, that you down on your knees and you pretend that you're praying, and people who oftentimes go down on their knees. I love you guys. I'll be back tomorrow, same place, same time. Don't forget, tomorrow morning is the mid-morning show with Gabby and DJ Andre and the whole crew. They have Earl and they have Josh as well. I'll be back tomorrow, man. You guys you can just imagine what's going through my mind right now, right? I love you all of you. I love you.
Well, the gas raised up and the grocery raised up. I think the government could do something about that because people taping and raise up top dog, you don't know. That all what I have to say. They should really do something about that.
Okay, well, maybe the Chinese company that did not get the agreement that they wanted here, maybe they're the ones who told you, or it could be just a fictitious thing.
Okay, well, let's talk about specific individuals. What is your relationship with Mr. Su Jerome?
So my relationship, nothing.
Yeah, I'm just on quickly again while I still see. I noticed some folks are asking me to talk about the cocaine bust, right? I forgot everything about that. 3 persons busted, arrested for cocaine. One young lady who was part of DPI was on her way to New York on a JetBlue flight, and she was busted with about 9 kilograms of cocaine worth a couple $1 million, Guyana dollars that is, and approximate cost of about 300,000 US dollars. We're hearing that she is a relative of a senior government official. I am not certain the authenticity of that, but hopefully by tomorrow we will all get to the bottom of that. And the cocaine bust. Cocaine strapped to body and all manner of things. And the fact that she already said she's guilty. But the magistrate in the case is saying, hey, she has to undergo some sort of psychiatric evaluation and all manner of things. What's good for one should be good for all. Maybe all of the other drug mules or alleged drug mules should be allowed to undergo psychological or psychiatric evaluation. Maybe some magistrates should be allowed to undergo some psychiatric evaluation as well. But like I said, we'll talk more about that tomorrow. All right, for now, I've got to go again. Sorry that I came and intrude back a couple of your minutes of your time. So long.
What is the difference between the ordinary thief and a political thief? Number 1, the ordinary thief steals your money, your bag, your watch, and your jewelry, isn't it? But the political thief steals your future, your career, your education, your health, and your business. Number 2, the hilarious part is that the ordinary thief will choose whom to rob.
Right about now, living in Guyana right about now, I aim in Guyana no more. I think I will go and get me visa and I go fly out and I go to Burmese and I go relax myself because I aim in Guyana no more.
Making the short video for send to you and the viewers and listeners. I'll know we punishing in Guyana. Punishing. Rice gone up, sugar gone up, flour gone up, cost of living just gone up, gas gone up from 3,400 to 3,800. Real hungry days under this installed PPP government. Real hungry days we gone back to. Guyanese? Oh! Real hungry days, real hungry days.
Some little children. I went to singing on the dancers, really admire them. Smallness is still on their mind. Smallness is a good time. Neighbor and some little children. I went to singing on the dancers, really admire them. Yes, they're singing. Ching, ching, ching. In a bag. See for mama. The 10 fat chickens. And I she one. And she won't give me one. You see that girl named Dorothy. She fat like a butter. And she mama like a chow. Oh, smallness is still on my mind. Smallness is a good time. Neighbor and some little children. I'm ready singing and the dancers really admire them.
Join the singing.
Old man house on fire. The old man ran away. He ran for the police to get the water. The only